Hamas snipers launch a surprise ambush on IDF troops, taking out an Israeli tank in a stunning attack. This dramatic escalation is sending shockwaves across the region. Stay tuned. We're breaking it all down right now. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today's update is one of the most intense stories coming out of the conflict zone. Reports are emerging of a deadly ambush where Hamas snipers targeted IDF troops in a surprise operation. What makes this incident particularly significant is that it ended with the destruction of an Israeli tank, something that rarely happens due to Israel's advanced military technology and heavy armor. The attack is already making headlines worldwide and raising questions about how Hamas managed to pull this off despite Israel's constant surveillance and ground control operations. In this video, we're going to take you step by step through what happened, where it happened, and what it means for the broader conflict. We'll also talk about the potential response from Israel, how this might shift the momentum on the ground, and what analysts are saying about the escalation risk. Whether you follow this conflict for humanitarian, political, or security reasons, this is a development you can't ignore. So let's dive right into the details of how this dramatic event unfolded and why it could mark a turning point in the ongoing tension between Hamas and Israel. The ambush reportedly took place in a contested border area where IDF troops were patrolling in armored vehicles, including the tank that would later be destroyed. Sources say that Hamas used a combination of sniper fire and carefully placed explosives to catch the Israeli forces off guard. This tactic shows a high level of planning and coordination, suggesting that this was not a random attack, but a premeditated strike designed to make a major statement. Eyewitnesses from nearby areas reported hearing heavy gunfire followed by a loud explosion that shook the ground. This explosion was likely caused by an anti-tank weapon or a powerful improvised explosive device. Videos circulating online, although not fully verified yet, appear to show smoke rising from the site and IDF vehicles rushing to evacuate casualties. Military analysts are saying that this kind of attack demonstrates Hamas' ability to hit high-value targets despite Israel's heavy presence in the region. It's also a psychological blow for the IDF, as tanks are considered one of Israel's most formidable assets in ground warfare. The loss of one is rare and significant. This raises big questions about whether Hamas has improved its battlefield capabilities or acquired more advanced weapons from external sources. From a strategic standpoint, this ambush could have multiple purposes. First, it sends a message to Israel that Hamas remains capable of challenging its forces on the ground, despite repeated Israeli airstrikes and raids. Second, it may be aimed at boosting morale among Hamas supporters and sympathizers across the region. These kinds of operations are often used as propaganda victories, showcasing that the group can still inflict damage on a technologically superior military. The timing is also interesting, as it comes amid heightened tensions and recent clashes in other areas. Some experts believe Hamas is testing Israel's response threshold, essentially seeing how far they can go before Israel escalates further. This can also be viewed as part of a larger strategy to force Israel into a ground operation where Hamas believes it has the home field advantage with its network of tunnels and ambush points. The attack has likely triggered immediate investigations by Israeli intelligence to figure out how Hamas got precise information about troop movements. That kind of intel would be necessary to carry out such a targeted attack, whether this information came from human sources, surveillance, or just careful observation over time is something we might find out in the coming days. Israel's initial response to the attack has been swift. Reports from local media indicate that Israeli drones and fighter jets were quickly deployed to strike suspected Hamas positions near the site of the ambush. Residents in Gaza have reported several explosions overnight, which suggests that Israel is already retaliating. The IDF has also reportedly sealed off nearby areas to prevent further attacks and to secure the zone where the tank was destroyed. This is a typical Israeli response aimed at both punishing the attackers and preventing follow-up strikes. However, the destruction of a tank is not something that Israel can simply brush aside. It puts pressure on the government and military leadership to demonstrate strength and restore deterrence. Analysts predict that we might see an intensification of Israeli airstrikes or even a limited ground operation if the situation escalates further. There are also political ramifications within Israel. Leaders will face public and media scrutiny about how this attack happened and what measures will be taken to prevent similar incidents in the future. Opposition parties are already calling for a tougher stance, which might further push the government toward escalation. On the Hamas side, officials are celebrating the attack as a major success. Their media channels are publishing statements calling it a victory and proof of their ability to defend Palestinian territory. This narrative plays well for Hamas domestically and regionally, where they are often competing with other factions for influence and support. By successfully striking a tank and causing casualties, Hamas strengthens its image as the primary armed resistance force against Israel. This also has the effect of energizing its fighters and supporters who see this as a symbolic win. However, Hamas is also aware that such actions carry a cost. Israel's retaliation is often swift and severe, and civilian areas in Gaza are likely to be affected. This dynamic of attack and retaliation has been at the heart of the conflict for years, and each new incident adds more fuel to the cycle of violence. International observers are now closely watching to see whether this latest attack will trigger a wider round of fighting or remain a limited exchange. The next 48 hours are considered critical in determining the trajectory of this escalation. International reactions have started to pour in as well. Various governments and organizations are calling for restraint, urging both sides to avoid a full-scale conflict. The United Nations has expressed concern over the incident and called for an investigation into what happened. Some countries sympathetic to the Palestinian cause are praising the attack as legitimate resistance against occupation, while Israel's allies are condemning it as a terrorist act and backing Israel's right to defend itself. This difference in global opinion reflects the broader divide over the conflict, where narratives and framing play a crucial role. Social media is also buzzing with footage and heated debates, with hashtags related to the attack trending worldwide. This global attention can increase pressure on both sides, as public opinion often influences diplomatic responses and media coverage. If Israel escalates its response, we can expect statements from the US, EU, and other major players calling for de-escalation. From a military technology perspective, this incident raises questions about the vulnerability of armored vehicles in modern warfare. Israeli tanks like the Merkava are considered some of the best protected in the world, with advanced armor and active defense systems designed to intercept incoming threats. For Hamas to destroy one suggests either a lucky hit, an overwhelming attack, or the use of a particularly powerful weapon. Experts are speculating whether Hamas used a guided anti-tank missile, which can sometimes defeat even advanced armor if fired under the right conditions. If confirmed, this would highlight the growing sophistication of weapons in the hands of non-state actors. Such developments are not unique to this conflict. We've seen similar trends in Ukraine and other war zones where tanks and armored vehicles are increasingly vulnerable to portable, precise weapons. This could have implications for how Israel plans future ground operations and might push them to rely more on drones and airstrikes instead of heavy ground presence. Civilians living near the conflict zone are once again paying the price. After the ambush, many residents reported fleeing their homes due to fear of Israeli retaliation. In Gaza, people are bracing for airstrikes and staying close to shelters where possible. Humanitarian groups are warning that any escalation will worsen the already dire situation for civilians, many of whom are still recovering from previous rounds of fighting. Power outages, shortages of clean water, and limited medical supplies mean that even a few days of heavy bombardment can create a humanitarian crisis. International aid agencies are urging both sides to protect civilians and avoid strikes in densely populated areas, but history shows that this is easier said than done. Each new flare-up brings more suffering, especially for children and vulnerable groups. This is one reason why global calls for de-escalation are so urgent. The human cost of the conflict remains one of the most tragic aspects of this ongoing struggle. Politically, this event could have ripple effects far beyond the battlefield. In Israel, the government might face increased pressure to launch a stronger military campaign, which could impact ongoing diplomatic efforts with regional neighbors. For Hamas, the attack may boost its popularity domestically, but it also risks provoking a response that could weaken its infrastructure. Regional players like Egypt and Qatar, who often mediate between the two sides, are likely already working behind the scenes to prevent a wider escalation. These mediators play a crucial role in calming tensions when incidents like this occur. If successful, we might see a short-lived period of quiet after a round of retaliatory strikes. If not, we could be heading toward another prolonged round of fighting that destabilizes the region further. The next few days will reveal whether diplomacy can contain this crisis or whether military logic will dominate. In conclusion, the ambush on IDF troops and the destruction of an Israeli tank mark a significant development in the ongoing conflict. It highlights Hamas' evolving battlefield tactics, exposes vulnerabilities in Israel's military operations, and once again places civilians at risk of becoming collateral damage. Whether this turns into a major escalation or remains a limited clash will depend on how both sides calculate their next moves. Israel will likely seek to reassert its deterrence, while Hamas will aim to portray this as a major victory. For viewers like you, this story is an important reminder of how fragile the situation is and how quickly things can escalate. We will continue monitoring updates and bringing you verified information as soon as it becomes available. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an important update. Share this with friends who want to stay informed about the situation. Your engagement helps us bring you more in-depth, fact-based coverage of global events.